Hi, everyone. Welcome to True Disabled Story. My name is Nico, and I use he, him pronouns. For a visual description, I'm a white man with blonde hair, large blue and brown spectacles, and and a pink t-shirt, tie-dye t-shirt, underneath a dark green zip-up hoodie. I'm seated against an office wall indoors. Like roughly 25% of Americans and a full 17% of Philadelphians, I'm disabled. Whether we look locally, nationally, or globally, disability communities are full of dynamic, diverse, and frankly delightful people with their own stories to tell. All we have to do is listen. Now, as many of you know already, I was born with my disability. I've never known differently, and I probably always will be disabled. But in my time working with disability communities, helping to advocate for disabled causes, I've worked with other disabled folks, some of whom have acquired their diagnoses later in life. Some maybe had one diagnosis at birth and then gained another diagnosis later on. I've always been interested in these stories, which leads me to today's interview. Kiamesha is here joining us to talk about her experiences, her diagnostic journey, and I'm really excited to hear from her. As with all my respondents, I've given Kiamesha the option to be on camera or off. She's chosen off for right now, so we're going to respect that. Kiamesha, hi, how are you doing?
I'm good. How are you today?
I am well, thank you, and thank you so much for joining us.
Of course. This is going
Yeah,
to be fun.
absolutely. Getting a little bit of background noise from your mic, but we should be all right.
Oh, okay.
So we'll go ahead and dive into these questions. So, Kiamesha, what was your path to diagnosis like? Was your diagnosis a total surprise, or was it something maybe you were perhaps suspecting or even actively pursuing? Paint that picture for me.
Well, I was born with cerebral palsy
Hmm.
in the late 90s. In New York, it's not the best place to be disabled because everything is a little bit it's difficult to get around, but I
Sure.
tried. And but when I was 14, I was diagnosed with the anxiety and depression. And I think that makes me a little bit different.
Okay. So, why does that make you different? Could you dive into that?
I was the only person in my family with a disability. And before this, I didn't really know what anxiety and depression was. I wasn't really exposed to it. Um, and I only recently found out that a lot of my family members have anxiety and depression, and I never knew. I don't know if it's because my family wanted to protect me or not make me feel worse, but I think it still would have made me feel a little bit more um normal.
Okay, sure. I'm interested to know then what impact your diagnoses have had on your life. You talk a little bit about how your diagnosis of anxiety and depression gave you a new facet of your relationship with your family to explore. Has
Hmm.
your family been supportive since you got these diagnoses?
Oh
What
yeah,
what
I
does your
think
life look like in terms of like social support, emotional support, you're getting good medical support?
I think they always thought that I had some. They always thought that I was a little bit of a nervous kid, but I think they just needed this diagnosis as like to like prove it, I guess, because I was often by myself. I was very quiet. I would read a lot of books. I wouldn't really talk unless someone talked to me. And they're like, okay, maybe she's just a shy kid. But at 14, when I was diagnosed with depression and anxiety, it was like, okay, this is it. And it made me feel a little bit like, okay, like it's nothing that is wrong. A lot of people get this, but I just didn't know. But I just wish that people would expose it more because it makes people feel lonely, especially for people like me who had no idea this kind of thing existed, and they're feeling that they're off and they're weird. And think I'm very happy that for this diagnosis because it makes me feel like I'm not alone, and it gives me a purpose because I'm a writer and I write about that a lot.
I love that. That's fantastic. Thank you for your answer. Let me ask you something, and this is kind of a follow-up question, so it's not planned.
Okay.
You mentioned that once you got your anxiety and depression diagnosis, you noticed that other members of your family had those same diagnoses.
Mm-hmm.
What was, or even was there a time in your life that made you say, "Hey, this is more than normal stress. This is more than normal nervousness." Was there an indicator in yourself that there was something wrong?
Um, a little bit. I just couldn't put it into words. Like I knew I just didn't want to go anywhere. Like the things that I used to do wasn't exciting me anymore. I felt like I was just alone and no one really understood me and I didn't understand myself and it was very isolating. It but I think knowing that this like runs in the family makes it a little bit easier.
Okay. Yeah, I can definitely see uh, how having other family members with anxiety and depression could make that experience easier for you, I guess I'll say, or at least more known. I'm really
Yeah.
glad that your family has been supportive of you. That's fantastic. Have you seen that support also from, your friend groups, or I'm not sure what you do professionally, but in any professional circles?
Um I was very hesitant to tell people because of the stigma
Okay.
and like having cerebral palsy and depression and anxiety is like it's like whoa, that's a lot.
Yeah.
And it can be tricky because I live in a city where everything is like go 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 and you're kind of like expected to be go 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 and I'm very introverted, but writing helps me with that. It makes me feel like I can be brave and I don't have to hide.
That's beautiful. That's awesome. I'm actually also from New York, but I'm from upstate New York. So I didn't know when you said New York, you meant the city. I agree. That's not a very accessible place.
Yeah, it's not. But we
Valid.
yeah, we try.
Yeah. I actually had somebody else from New York City for my last video series talk about this exact same thing, how New York City is generally quite inaccessible, and it
No.
should be that way.
Yeah.
I should get back on track though. Kiamesha, thank you so much for telling us this story. I'm interested because you're somebody who had disabilities from birth and then you also learned more as you aged. So if you could go back in time, or even if you could find somebody else younger than you who is also dealing with CP and then mental illness, what advice would you give them?
Just to give it time.
Okay.
Like you're gonna find everything that you need. It can feel very isolating in the moment. I would tell them that the isolating feeling may not go away, but like once you know the answers, it's gonna get better. Even if it's not immediate, you're gonna have to go through a lot of changes to understand yourself and figure out who you are first. And I'm not even close to getting to that point, but it's getting easier because I'm an author and I represent these people in my books and I'm going to college and I'm getting my master's degree. And it's something I don't really talk about because I don't really like talking about myself, but I thought maybe someone needed to hear that.
I think they do. I think you're being very brave, and I want to thank you again for your honesty, Kimesha. And then on a personal note, I'm a huge bookworm as well, so I would love to hear more about your author experiences, but only if you're comfortable. Thank you
Oh,
so much. I love this advice that you give folks who are trying to navigate anxiety and depression. It really feels sometimes like we have to solve things right away, or we have to address things one certain way. And that's
yeah.
not always the case.
Yep.
Uh, so I really respect that wisdom that you bring. Kiamesha, as we close our time together today, I want to, really hold space for you again because you're doing a very brave thing talking about your experiences. And I want to give you a chance that I give all my interviewees, regardless of project. Now, I know you said you didn't like talking about yourself, but I want to give this I want to give this opportunity to you in any way that you want to use it. This is a chance for you to promote yourself, talk about any cool projects you have either in progress or perhaps that you've recently completed.
Oh,
If you're open to connecting online, where can people find you? So, Kiamesha, this is your chance to really be your own cheerleader. So step up on that soapbox and let's hear it.
okay. Um, well, I have Amazon books. They're under the fantasy and romance genre. And I write about people in wheelchairs that do these epic adventures and have some self-discovery, and it's very philosophical and kind of different because I feel like these genres don't really have that. Um, my pen names are Kiamesha Denise Sims, Katharina Starr, Spring Violet, and soon I will be writing books under a new pen name, Guinevere Atlas. Yes, I'm into philosophy and mythology and all that stuff. But they have a little bit of trigger warnings, so they have to be for those over 18. I also am on Instagram. I can't remember my Instagram name on top of my head, but I'm pretty sure that if you look up those books that I have under those pen names, you can find me somewhere. Um, I also am very open. So if you guys want to talk to me, you can talk to me at Kiamesha Denise Sims 03 at gmail.com. But it's mostly has to be mostly about books. And if I don't respond right away, it's not that I didn't see, it's not that I didn't want to respond. It's just that I'm very busy with grad school and writing and trying to figure out who I am.
Kiamesha, thank you so much again. I'm wishing you all the best as you continue to figure out who you are. But it sounds like who you are so far is pretty darn amazing.
Thank you.
Of course. Kiamesha, have a great rest of your Monday, okay? It was a joy speaking with you.
You too.
All right, take care now.